Hey guys, today I'm going to do a book review. I've never done a book review here on YouTube, but I love to read and I love trying new creative projects, so I thought, why not, let's try something new. Today I'm going to review the book The Lost Causes of Bleak Creek by Rhett and Link. If you've spent any amount of time on YouTube, you've more than likely come across at least one of their videos. They have millions upon millions upon millions of subscribers. They've been on the platform for over a decade. They have Good Mythical Morning, which is their daily show here on YouTube. They've written a previous book, The Book of Mythicality, which is more autobiographical. And this one is more of a novel. So I was really excited to read this because I love novels, and I love novels that are fun and kind of spooky. There is some mystery and some supernatural elements to it, which I really enjoy. So I'm coming at this book from a fan of the authors already. Now, I've never read anything by them. I didn't read their first book. One thing I really enjoy about Rhett and Link and being a fan of theirs is that they talk a lot about their childhood. They're two best friends. They've been best friends since first grade, Miss Locklear's class. So when they talked about the book being based off of their own childhood friendship, I was drawn to it because I too have best friends that I've known since I was 5 years old. And we had an amazing childhood, lots of crazy adventures, and so the fact that this book was going to be, you know, loosely based off of that, they're drawing in a lot of inspiration from their small town in North Carolina. And I can't relate to a small town in North Carolina because I grew up in a very big city. So that in and of itself was another draw for me because I love reading about different people's experiences. Again, it's fiction, but very based on their childhood. I will say that the prose of this book, it's super fun. It's an easy read. It's suitable for all ages. I'm 30 years old and I really enjoyed it. Has a way of taking you back to childhood and enjoying a mythical story. It's full of a lot of twists and turns. It is quite fantastical in some places, which I don't mind at all. I think it's fun. I think it's fiction. We should be as fantastical as we want to be. I think it's fun and creative. That's pretty much the biggest takeaway for me, is that it's fun and creative. This book. that's my two-word, fun and creative. So a quick overview of the book. The two main characters are Rex and Leaf, based off of Rhett and Link, and they have a third best friend, Alicia, and the three of them together are wanting to make a really cool movie. But while filming this film, they find themselves in trouble, and one of the friends gets sent away, and then there's a whole rescue mission that happens, and lots of other secrets of this small town come out. The more you read, the more twists and turns, the more things you find out. There are other characters that play a big role in this. They kind of all come together. I like how it's written. Each chapter is written from a different character's point of view. So, you know, you start out with one of the kids, and then all of a sudden the next chapter you're reading from an adult's perspective, and you're just wondering, how does this play into the rest of the story that I had just read? But it does all tie together really nicely. By the end of the book, you've got a whole team, a really interesting crew of people, from kids to adults, and some really quirky characters that you're like, that's definitely based off of someone that they came across in their childhood. And yeah, maybe they elaborated a bit, but it's super entertaining. It's very interesting to read. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I came into this already a fan, so another funny thing was I was unable to picture the characters as anything other than current Rhett and current Link's face on a child's body, like just as this comical image in my head. So the entire time I'm just picturing like adult Rhett on a kid's body, but that just added to it in my opinion. I would be interested to hear from people that aren't fans, who had never heard of Rhett and Link before in their lives, and what they thought of it, because I'm obviously coming from it from a biased standpoint, and I recognize that, you know. But I do have some cons of the book. Even though I'm a huge fan, I really did enjoy it. I did have some cons. One thing that happens quite a lot is there are a lot of pop culture references just to have pop culture references. Like, sometimes it felt too much. It felt like they were really trying to set the scene for being written at in the 80s by just adding pop culture references, and sometimes that felt very limiting. The book takes place in the 80s, and sometimes it felt like the only way they could describe that time was to plug in a pop culture reference. And sometimes it was really lost on me because, for instance, they described like 3 different women at 3 different times of the book, unrelated to one another, by the perfume that she was wearing. So they didn't describe the perfume, but they just flat out told you which perfume she was wearing, which was lost on me because I don't have any idea what kind of perfume women wear. I hate perfume. I don't ever wear it. So I don't know what the different types of perfume there are. So for me personally, like, that kind of thing was lost on me. It went over my head. I'm like, okay, so this woman smells like some type of perfume. And it just caught my attention because it happened like at least three times throughout the book. Not a big deal, but there were instances like that where I'm just like, okay. The other thing was the ending felt kind of rushed. Now, I don't know if they have plans to make a sequel. I kind of hope they do, because the ending felt kind of rushed, and I felt like the resolution wasn't as satisfying as it could have been, or as much as I wanted it to be. They left me kind of disappointed, if I'm honest, in the way that it ended. Not enough to not like the book, because I really did enjoy reading all of it, and the ending had resolution, but I just felt like maybe it was rushed a little bit, and maybe they have plans to make a sequel and they didn't want to tie up everything because they want to address it in the next book. But as of right now, I don't know if they have plans to write a sequel. I guess part of that also is that I want justice. Like, stuff happens in this book, like bad stuff happens, and no justice is served by the end of it. Like, no real justice, in my opinion, and I want justice. I want there to be resolution for the bad things that happened. And I guess this is kind of a spoiler, so mute me real quick, and then I'll put on here that I'm done talking about this potential spoiler. But I'll also try and be very general. There is, like, the main antagonist does horrible stuff, you know? And he has actually a really interesting backstory that I cry pretty easily, by the way, but I didn't cry at all, except his backstory really kind of got to me, and it kind of choked me up a little bit, which is so frustrating. It's good writing, but it's so frustrating because he's the bad guy and you want to hate him, but then he has this really, like, heart-wrenching backstory. It doesn't excuse what he's done, obviously, but oh man, it really gets you. So anyway, the antagonist, man, what happens to him at the end is kind of justice in some way, but not fully satisfying, at least to me. But it's not enough to make it not interesting to read. You know, I still really enjoyed the book. How many times have I said that? I don't know, but I have. And I love the cover. Have we talked about the cover at all? It's super cool. There's, like, it's matte up here, but then, like, glossy down here. The Lost Causes of Bleak Creek. Okay, and going along with this, like, not sure if they're writing a sequel or not. They may have even been holding off on writing a sequel, depending on how well the book did. If I remember correctly, they did get on the New York Times bestseller list, which is awesome. So maybe they will write a sequel. But going along with that, there is another character in the book who is based off of one of their childhood friends that ended up passing away. I don't know exactly. I don't think he passed away as a child, but he definitely passed away, like, way too young. And they named a character after him. His name's Ben. Okay, spoiler alert, this is a big spoiler for one of the characters of the book. It's not so much a spoiler for any of the plot, but it's definitely a spoiler for a character. So again, if you don't want to hear a spoiler, just mute me and I will put on the screen when, I'll put on the screen when I'm done spoiling for you. Okay, so the big spoiler is a character dies. But does he actually die? Does he stay dead? Because the book is very supernatural. It has a lot of supernatural elements. So maybe he doesn't stay dead. But I'm really upset if he does stay dead. Because the character is written based off of one of their childhood friends who has passed away in real life. And the character that they based him off of dies too? Like, I just can't. I can't get over that. So maybe he doesn't stay dead. Maybe there's some tricky thing there where in the next book, I don't even know if there's a next book, but if there's a next book, maybe they bring him back to life somehow. Maybe he's not actually dead. And technically they do talk about in the book how what happens to him has happened to other people, and they're not technically dead in that sense. They're just like chilling in the void, which was an interesting concept, which in the way that they described it in the book was kind of like chilling and eerie, and I was just like, this is really interesting, the way that they described time and forgetting your memories and stuff like that. That was an interesting part. So I guess Ben isn't technically dead, but he's also not alive, and I find it weird because they wrote this character based on their friend who has actually died. I don't know, it was just a weird thing. I just really feel for the guy, and I wanted him to, you know, make it out. I wanted him to live this, you know, grand life, but I don't know. I just feel for the guy, that's all it is. So if you're looking for a book that's an easy read, a real quick read, that's fun and fantastical, that has some supernatural elements to it, that's really funny at some points, like it's written in the point of view, well sometimes because the chapters change, but it's written in the point of view of two freshmen in high school. Like they just finished 8th grade, they're going into their freshman year, back in the 80s, like there's a nostalgia feel to it. I recommend the book. I do. I enjoyed it. I'm easy to please when it comes to fun books, because as long as I have fun reading it, then I'm like, it was good. But if you're looking for something like super deep or more grown up, this isn't gonna be it for you, because that's not its purpose, you know, that's not what this is gonna be. I will admit that in the first, it took me a few chapters to get into it, because at first I was like, is it a kid's book? Because it kind of reads like a kid's book, because it's an easy read, but I kind of like that it's suitable for all ages. Like a kid, I would feel okay with my nephews reading this, and then me as a 30-year-old woman, I enjoyed reading it, and I'm sure that them as 40-year-old men, they really enjoyed writing it. I get that from the book, and just hearing them talk about it, they seem to really like it. So that's my review on The Lost Causes of Bleak Creek. Thank you for watching all of this, watching me ramble. I love to read, so I'll probably do more of these at some point, though with my track record of making videos, who knows. I hope you guys are doing well. I do want to end with just randomly flipping through here and reading. This is the message, because you know I love this. And this is called something too, bibliomancy, which is a fancy word for flipping through this, and whatever we land on, whatever we read, that's the message that we're getting. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so this is what we're reading. This is the message that we get for today from The Lost Causes of Bleak Creek. The color drained from Rex's face. You saw it? Well, yeah, what was left of it. Wasn't pretty, that's for sure. I keep thinking if I had been there cutting the grass that day, I would've, I don't know, maybe I could've done something to help her. Rex hadn't imagined Whitewood would go so far as to actually burn down a building to legitimize his cover story, but of course he would. Otherwise, it would be obvious that it had been a lie. I don't know that you could have done anything, Travis, he said, but thanks. There was so much the poor guy didn't know. So our message is that sometimes our best might not necessarily be good enough, but our best is our best, and that's all that we can do. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for indulging in my creativity, trying something new. I enjoyed it. It's fun making these. I hope you're doing well, and let me know if there's a book you want me to review. I don't know what I'm gonna read next. I'm currently reading The Picture of Dorian Gray, which I love, but I don't know that I want to make a review on something. I kind of want to stick to newer books that are like currently being published. But either way, let me know. If you've read it, let me know your thoughts. And yeah, that's it. Bye, guys.